What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to Tuesday night's late night agenda. Today the Reds played their first two 30-minute pre-season games, both ending in 1-1 draws, but you know, it was good to see the lads get a run out. Good to see a couple of the youngsters as well. We've got a lot to get through on tonight's stream. We will of course talk about Jordan Henderson. We'll talk about the Mohamed Salah contract situation, a couple of outgoings today that we'll go through as well. So yeah, loads and loads of stuff to get through, and I really appreciate you guys coming in and spending some of your evening with little old me, because it's warm, isn't it? Woo! It's warm today, ladies and gentlemen. I've got the fan on in the background over there, and I'm still melting, I won't lie to you, but it's great that we're finally back seeing the lads out on the pitch, you know, putting the yards in. And I wouldn't worry about any of the pre-season scores, ladies and gentlemen. For me, pre-season's always been about a couple of things: getting minutes into the lads' legs and making sure that nobody gets injured and stuff like that. So you'll probably see a bit more of a longer road back for Joe Gomez, Van Dijk, players like that who have been out for quite a while. But you know, what can we take from the pre-season games today? Well, Cade Gordon looked really good. I thought Mohamed Salah, Mane looked really sharp. Chamberlain looked very, very good to me. Looked like at this moment in time his body's in a very good place physically. And a couple of other little glimpses of some youngsters as well. Bradley had a decent game in the second one. We got to see Ibrahim Kanade play his first game for Liverpool, and we've seen that fantastic recovery pace that he possesses, and lots of other bits and pieces. But I want to go through and talk about the transfers as always, and what we do know is a couple of things have happened today. So there's been two outgoings from Liverpool Football Club. Teo Arioni has joined Union Berlin on a permanent deal. I think that deal is around the £8 million mark. So, you know, after battling so long to get a work permit, it was always believed that he would go out somewhere permanently. And like I always say, I always wish these guys nothing but the best in the future, because you know, they want to settle down, they want to have a football career, and look, the club have freed up another little bit of money. Marko Grujic, last night, just as I finished the stream, news was starting to come out that he was going to join Porto. Now, a lot of people were losing their minds because the original details that were coming out showed that there was a loan involved in, and yes, there is, but it is a permanent deal. So what's going to happen is Marko Grujic will join Porto on loan for the season ahead, but there is an obligation to buy at, I believe, £12 million. So again, nothing but the best to Marko Grujic. Never really had a chance for it to work out at Liverpool, which is a shame, considering, you know, he was Kloppo's first signing at the club. Everybody will probably remember the fantastic header as well against Barcelona that he scored. I mean, that's certainly the moment I'll remember of him. But look, again, no hard feelings whatsoever towards Marko Grujic. I wish him all the best with Porto. He's joined a fantastic club in a fantastic footballing country, and I wish him nothing but the best. But that is more money freed up by the club, on top of moving on the likes of Liam Miller and Camille Grabara. We probably brought in a total of around 22 million quid there so far for fringe players, or players that Klopp doesn't see as part of his plan moving forward. So, you know, we'll get this done. We'll get a few more of these players over the line perhaps, and then we may see some more action with regards to incomings. But there is a lot of news around players that are already at the club and some contract negotiations there. So let's start off with I suppose they are kind of inexplicably linked, but let's start off with the latest on Saul Niguez of Atletico Madrid. So it looks like we know that the Barcelona deal has fallen through. We know that there was initial contact made between Barcelona and Atleti over maybe a swap deal involving Griezmann and Saul, and that has fallen apart. But if you're to believe what's been put out there in the media, and look, you know, there's enough people saying it, so there's probably some truth to this. He likes the idea of coming to the Premier League. Now, we aren't the only club being linked with him. Manchester United have been linked with him, and have been linked with him for a good while. Actually, if you look back over a few seasons, you'll see that they have been linked, actually. You know, there's always these players that are linked to certain clubs for certain times. You know, we can think back over ones that have been linked to Liverpool for a few years. Lorenzo Insigne as an example. But yeah, so I don't know what the situation is with Saul, but it looks like he's going to come to the Premier League. Would I mind him at Liverpool? No. I've always said Bissouma, him, Neuhaus, even though I don't know too much about him, I trust the manager fully on that one. And Sanchez, Renato Sanchez, they're all players that I'd be absolutely fine with, but I think we'll see movement one way or another soon enough, because it looks like his agent and his representatives are certainly putting the feelers out there around a Premier League move. And look, I've no idea if he'll end up at Liverpool, if he'll end up at United, if he'll end up elsewhere. It's all just a guessing game at this moment in time. But Everything else has gone quiet around midfielders pretty much. Now, there was some talk that could we do something around a potential deal for Yves Bissouma with the interest that Nat Phillips has brought on from Brighton. I genuinely don't know, to be honest. I mean, let's wait and see what happens on that one. But yeah, let's just... What do you guys think around this Saul situation? I mean, I've got loads more stuff to get through tonight, and we will get through it, but I just wanted to get your take on it, because I know a lot of people have a lot of players that have caught their eye. Camavinga, a name I look into the chat and I see there straight away. And I've got to be honest and say that I've never seen any legitimate links with Liverpool to Camavinga, but I certainly have seen links for Paris Saint-Germain, I think Arsenal at one point, and Manchester United linked to Camavinga, who is, an 18-year-old, undoubted French talent that will probably move on this summer. So wait and see what happens there, but not a name, realistically, that I've seen Liverpool. Which is weird, because I have seen us linked to the young kid from Ajax. What's his name again? Ryan Gravenberch, who was of a similar age. Pedri, obviously, we've seen some far-fetched links to as well. But I just want to get your take on the Saul situation, because, every day a little bit more seems to trickle out around this. And Addison said he'd take him at Liverpool. I'd have to take him as well. But my worry on this, I said it before and I'll go back over it again. My worry is that if we move Genie on, which of course has happened, and then we're in unknown territory with Hendo right now, I don't want it to be a situation where we lose our captain this summer and Saul comes in to cover two positions basically. So we've lost Genie, if we lost Hendo, heaven forbid, and we don't want to do that, I wouldn't want it to be just one player coming in. So we'll talk about Hendo though in a few minutes. Go get Bissouma, 30 million and Phillips, said Mossy Kyo. Look, again, mate, I said at the very start of the summer transfer window, Yves Bissouma is somebody who I have no doubt could come in and do a very similar job to Gini Wijnaldum. I suppose the real question here is the manager and the assistant manager looking for another Gini Wijnaldum? Are they looking for a clone, basically, of Genie? Or are they looking for somebody maybe to get on the front foot a little bit more? Because if you look at what we have in what I would call the water carrier position in midfielders, obviously you've got Fabinho, you've got Henderson, you've got Thiago, you've got James Milner. They're four players for two positions pretty much. Because, we'll play two and then maybe one more on the front foot, which could be Keita, could be Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, could be Curtis Jones. So I'm wondering what way the manager's looking at it, and that's what intrigues me most about this situation. So it'll be quality for Liverpool. We need him, Craig said. Wiser FN. And look, again, I'm sound about the idea of Liverpool signing Saul. I have no problems with it. Again, I know we keep bringing this up, but his injury record is phenomenal. I think he's missed 16 or 18 games over 6 years, which is pretty impressive for somebody that plays in midfield. So, also worked with Diego Simeone, very, very accomplished midfielder, played at the highest level, knows what it's like to be in big games, part of a team that won La Liga this year with Atleti. And somebody at 26, again, it's a good age bracket to be coming in, lots of experience. So for me personally, if we're talking about a Genie replacement and Saul was the one that the gaffer wanted, I wouldn't bat an eyelid. I'd say, yeah, that ticks the boxes, makes loads of sense. So would Renato Sanchez to me, so would Yves Bissouma. Neuhaus, again, to me, I've been honest, it's always been a wild card. I don't know too much about Neuhaus. So, let's see what you guys keep thinking on Saul anyway. I want to sell Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita, said Douglas. I think I'm going to make you a little bit upset now, mate. From what I've been reading, again, not what I've been told, but what I've been reading, it looks like the club want to give Naby Keita a new deal. I think that's been put out there by a couple of mainstream journalists. Now, I would be the first one to admit that both the players that you've mentioned have been a little bit frustrating to us fans with regards to their injuries and stuff. But I know it's pre-season, I know it's early doors, and I know it doesn't really mean anything. But I have to say, I was very impressed with what I seen of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain today. He looked like the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain that we've seen glimpses of, in that season before he picked up that horrific injury against Roma. A peak Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who is now 27 years of age, if those injury worries are behind him, he could be useful. He really, really could. Now, Naby Keita is a bit of more of a wild card, isn't he? Because we had seen him take it out of the first team for a good while, given the opportunity to really, I suppose, work on his core fitness, work with the nutritionists, the sports science teams, to try and mitigate whatever it was that was causing the injuries. And he didn't even last to the end of the season without picking up another knock. And look, was put into the game against Real Madrid. Whether you think that was fairly or unfairly, he had a stinker. I think we'll all agree on that one. And of the two, I would have been more comfortable selling Keita this summer if one of them were to move on. I don't think it looks like either of them will move on, being entirely honest with you. But the idea of Keita getting a new contract when the captain has the worries that he has doesn't sit well with me. Not because I've anything against Naby, far from it. I'd be more than happy if we get the Naby Keita we thought we were getting this season. I'd be over the moon. Naby lad is a legend also, said George. It's just been frustration, I think. I don't think anyone really has anything against Naby Keita in any way. I mean, how could you? I think we're all just a little bit frustrated because when we got that deal done, when Michael Edwards pulled a bit of jiggery pokery that he did to get that deal done the way he did, we were so excited, weren't we? We were counting down the days and the minutes. We were all on Naby watch. We were, really looking forward to him coming to Liverpool, taking that number 8 shirt, of course, which, carries a big weight with it, Steven Gerrard's former number. And we've seen what he's capable of in small glimpses, but not on a consistent basis. And I think that's what's frustrated a lot of us. Right, let's move on to talk about El Capitan, Jordan Henderson. So, look, you know the situation at this point, I'm sure. He has 2 years remaining on his deal. So, let's play a scenario out where the club don't offer him a new deal, but don't want to sell him because Jurgen Klopp says to him, look, I know that maybe you can't get the deal from the club that you want now. I can't help that. But what I can say to you is, see out your contract with us. I want you as part of my team for 2 years. You will be the leader of this group. You will get the minutes that you deserve. I can't help you on the money front. And again, this is all just me spitballing, throwing ideas out there. I'd love and hope that would be enough for Hendo to say, right, well, I'm going to prove myself over these next 2 years. And then look, at 33 years of age, okay, there's a conversation to be had between the club and Henderson. Does he get a 1 or 2 year extension? How have those 2 years gone? A lot of hypotheticals. But what I think is causing the issue, at least what's being, widely reported, is that he's not feeling the love. That he feels like, 2 years to go. We'll talk about all the other players who, the likes of Firmino, Alisson, Van Dijk, Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, a lot of other players in the same position as Henderson that have 2 years left and want a contract renewal, want their future sorted out. And you can understand that, that's fair enough. But the captain just sticks in my throat for some reason when it's Hendo, when everything he's done. And I understand there's no sentiment in football. I understand it's a ruthless business and everybody has to move on at some point. But I just don't get why it's already seemingly gotten to a point where perhaps he could leave this summer. That's the worrying part. Not the fact that, I could understand the decision to let him see out his 2 years and then look at where we are. But if he's not feeling the love from the club, that really worries me, because I can only assume that it's the money men he's not feeling the love from, because we certainly know within the squad he's admired, and rightly so. Within the fan base he's greatly admired, and rightly so. And we know how much the manager thinks of him. So it's not a great look from the outside, is it? If you're looking at Liverpool coming into the new season, we're already seeing a bit of bad PR in and around the club over the past week or two, which we could avoid. We don't need it. We need to be all pulling in the same direction. So I'm a little bit frustrated around the Hendo situation, and I hope it gets resolved, because none of us want to lose Jordan Henderson. No, nobody. But that kind of does move me on to, I suppose, the main part of tonight's stream, is that it's one thing that we hear that we have this established group of players, the players that have been with us for 4, 5, 6 years, the players that have gotten us to where we are, and usually the scenario has been we want to tie down these stars to new deals. But there is also another side to this that we need to explore, and let's look at the front three as an example. So let me just remove Henderson from the screen there, because I don't even I don't like looking at an upset Hendo, so we'll remove that from the screen. But let's look at the front three right now. Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino. All in and around 29 years of age. In fact, I think they could all be 29 years of age. But if not, certainly in and around it. And all in the same contract situation, all with 2 years to go. So, as has been widely reported, the pecking order seems to be Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane and Roberto Firmino seems to be the one the club are least prioritising. Now, I don't want to say they're openly looking to sell him, because I don't know if that's true or not. But what has been put out there is that Mohamed Salah is the priority, then Sadio Mane, and Firmino would be less of a priority. Whether that means letting him run down his contract or not, I do not know. That would be pure speculation. But I can understand why our owners or the manager or anybody at the club would look at this situation and go, right, they're all 29. If we were to throw out four-year contracts to all three of them, they're all going to be 33 years of age. And yes, 33 years of age isn't what it once was. But I have to admit, if I'm being brutally honest about this, if I'm looking at Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah and Roberto Firmino, and I'm looking at them thinking, which one will Father Time catch up on the quickest? Hand on heart, even though he's my favourite player, I do feel like the answer is Roberto Firmino. So, on that one, I think the club have got it right. Now, wanting to tie Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane down to new deals and getting them tied down to new deals, well, that's another conversation, isn't it? And, you know, some stuff's starting to get out there now that maybe there's some uncertainty around the Mohamed Salah camp. Maybe he fancies a move away. Maybe his head's being turned. Maybe he doesn't feel like he's been offered the type of money that he could be getting. I mean, just have a look into the type of wages Antoine Griezmann is getting, by the way, at Barcelona. I thought it was 400k, but I was sent lots of stuff last night to show me that it seems to be rather north of 400k a week. So you can understand why somebody putting up the number Salah does maybe looks around, and I don't know if he has offers from elsewhere or not, but he has to be priority number one for the front three. Get Mohamed Salah tied down to a new deal, because if we lose him this summer, where are we going to replace his goals from? How are we going to do it? It's great to have youngsters coming through. We're seeing Kay Gordon look really good today, Harvey Elliott, Musialowski. You know, it's great to have these guys coming through and all, but there's not many people in our team right now that's going to guarantee us 25 or 30 goals a season, and Mo has consistently done that since he's been at the club. So, you know, for me, that's a bit of a worry, if I'm being honest. I get a feeling Sadio will be an easier deal to get done. But what do you guys think on the priority of those front three? If we were to look at Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino, Mohamed Salah, all in similar circumstances, all with 2 years remaining, what do you think on that? If you had to maybe say, well, one of them probably is getting to a stage where you might move them on, what would your thinking be? Machiavelli the Don, I like that name, mate. Came from the United Stand. Thank you, buddy. Great to have you over with us. Hope you're enjoying the stream, even though it is Liverpool based. I appreciate you being here. Robbie said FSG out. Enough is enough. Robbie, look, buddy, I'm with you. You know, you're not going to get any argument for me that this penny pincher malarkey and, you know, the promise of next summer and next year does my head in as well, buddy. I get you. No argument from me on that one. And in theory, I'm with you. I'm FSG out as well. They've done too much at this point for me to forgive them. But I'm also not, and I'm not accusing you of this at all, my friend, I'm not naive enough to just think, well, let's run them out and the best new owners are going to come in. You know, at a point now where football clubs are valued in the billions and not the hundreds of millions anymore, it's very difficult to find somebody that gives a shit about a football club when they buy them now. It's usually somebody's plaything or an investment fund, or maybe a national backed fund or a sovereign fund that comes in and would buy a football club. So that was what would worry me around, because one thing we can say without any argument, I think, is that as a club right now, we're in a very sound financial position, and that's a good thing. But I do think the purse strings are being kept a little bit tight, and I do think that we should see some more leeway. But you know, I always try to maintain some balance in the conversation around this. Salah must stay, said Stephen Ward. Also Hendo, we can't get another genie. Firmino and Mane, Salah might want one more challenge, said George. So you'd of the three, you think Salah is more likely to move on, George? I mean, I hope you're wrong, and I'm sure you hope you're wrong as well, mate. But I think Mo has to be the priority, said Ben, and I agree. I mean, where do you even look to replace those goals from? And look, apparently we still do hold an interest in Malin. At least that's what's being put out there in the media. My belief is still I would make Borussia Dortmund favourites to sign Daniel Malin. I think the relationship they have with his agent, and the fact that his agent also represents Haaland, and you know Sancho has moved on, and maybe he'll say, okay, look, well, I'll make sure that Haaland's happy for another year. Let's get Malin in there, give them a season together. Malin stays for a couple of years, and then the Mina Raiola thing where he moves players around and everybody makes money could happen. So that's why I think he's probably most likely to go to Borussia Dortmund, because of that whole relationship that they have, and the fact that Dortmund are a club that bring in young players, give them a few seasons, move them on, and they've got themselves a good little niche doing that, and they've got themselves a nice setup where they continue to refresh funds, make a lot of money, and bring through and, you know, get use of some very, very good young footballers. Yusuf said cash in on Salah. Wow. No doubt of the front three, certainly the most valuable that we have. Obviously I don't include Diogo Jota in these conversations, because there is no way we're looking to move Jota on. You know, he's only in the club a wet day and he's younger than everybody else, so you know that's why I'm not mentioning him when I'm talking about the front three. How did Karius manage to screw up again today, said Walter White. Because he's pants, mate, and I'm an overweight, bald, almost 40-year-old former goalkeeper, and I probably would have saved that, mate. And you know, and I trust me, I'm not, you know, bigging myself up here. I'm horrendous these days, but everything about his positioning for that goal, his reaction, everything was wrong for me, and it's the reason why there's no future for him at Liverpool. I mean, the pecking order is Alisson, Kelleher, Adrian, and Karius. Regardless of what happens, the club are looking to move him on, but he wasn't great, was he? Now, he did make a decent save later on. I'll give him that one. He did come out and make a good save a bit later on, but that goal was it's just not good enough. And look, it wasn't good enough from a defensive perspective either. Hi Craig, what's going on with Salah, says Joe. The answer, Joe, is that negotiations have apparently started, but no movement on those negotiations, so no real breakthrough, no good news. Salah looked calm and composed today as always. I mean, he looked in great shape, he looked sharp, you know, smile on his face, you know, always, whatever happens with Mohamed Salah, he's the ultimate professional. His performances won't drop, his head won't drop. He'll continue to do what he does on the pitch, and his representative will look after the other side of things. And, you know, all I can say is that, am I worried about him moving on? Yes, I've been honest about that all summer. I worry that if Mbappe is telling PSG that he's not going to sign a new deal, which apparently he is, as in, when I say he is, I mean he is telling them that he won't sign a new deal. You know, my worry is that PSG could come knocking on Salah's door, or, you know, that Real Madrid might realise eventually that they can't afford Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappe, and that they could come knocking on the door, and maybe Salah, as somebody pointed out earlier, does fancy that one last change, one last big contract in his career. I hope to good God he stays at Liverpool, and I hope, you know, I could easily see him at 33 still banging in goals, whether he moves more central like Ronaldo or whatever, but I am worried about it, I won't lie. I'm worried about a lot of things this summer, and there's a lot of questions, but so far very few answers. Kate Gordon impressed me, said Joe. Very good, mate. Very, very good. Certainly the standout performer of that first game against Wacker Innsbruck. I'd agree with you. I thought Kate Gordon looked very impressive indeed. I think he was 3 million from Derby, if my memory's right, but yeah, he looked good, didn't he? We can certainly see we've got a prospect on our hands there, even from that little cameo today of 30 minutes. LFC for life, or LFC for L, said I'd take Mbappe for Salah. Look, mate, being honest, so would I. I'll be really honest about it, and for a few reasons. One, because he's still really, 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 really young, and I'm a sucker for an attacking winger that takes players on. and I think you'd be looking at a future multiple Ballon d'Or winner there. So, but I also don't think we can afford Kylian Mbappe's wages. So I don't see it as being something that's realistic. But he's probably the only player that I would answer, yes, I would swap Mohamed Salah for. There really isn't many, if any, other ones that come to mind that I would swap him for in a similar type wide forward position before people start throwing Erling Haaland's name at me. So yeah, it's a tough one, because for a club that likes to keep PR as good as possible, I can't understand how after the ESL fiasco it's coming out already that Salah might be a little bit unhappy. It's very well known that Gini left on good terms with the playing staff, good terms with the coaches and all, but there's some stuff that remains to be said. I think Gini's biting his lip a little bit about why he left Liverpool, and I don't think it was because he didn't want to stay at Liverpool, and I wouldn't accuse him of being a money grabber either. I think he wanted fair treatment, which I think he earned. And a 3-year contract to me for Gini Wijnaldum was a no-brainer. I mean, I know the club don't like giving anybody over the age of 30 more than 2 years, but we're talking about, you know, another James Milner with regards to his physical attributes and how often he's available for selection. So that one's always confused me, to be honest, and I can only assume that it's the money men that are making the decisions. And if the money men are making the decisions and they're going above what Klopp wants, I mean, I can't see any scenario where Jurgen Klopp doesn't want to keep Jordan Henderson. I can't fathom it in my head. We know how much he loves Jimmy Milner, and you know that's for a very similar reason he loves Hendo, and Hendo's even younger again. So yeah, I'm frustrated that we're in this negative PR position now. A couple of decent signings, and yeah, morale is back up again, but you know, we are starting to go through the gears now. As I said, we moved Teo Arioni on today to Union Berlin for about 8 million. Grujic is completing a £12 million deal to Porto, which will see it be a 1-year loan with an obligation being the key word, to buy for 12 million at the end of the season. And you know, that's more money brought into the club. So you know, we're part way through this process. Now there's a Shaqiri, Origi, Wilson, Nat Phillips, who didn't take any part in the games today, and from an outside perspective, having a little guess at it, I'm thinking, right, well, Ben White's on his way to Arsenal. Brighton are rumoured to be interested in Nat Phillips, as are some other clubs. Are Liverpool being overly cautious here and just making sure he doesn't pick up a knock, because that could be another 15 million quid in the coffers if he moves on? So there is that to consider as well. But right, let's go through some more of your comments. Love you, Craig, but Hendo has passed his best. I mean, I think it's fair. I mean, I'm not going to jump down your throat, mate. I mean, our injuries playing a bit of a role with him. Yeah, I'll give you that one. But what I will also say to you is he's still a vitally important player, mate, both within the dressing room and on the pitch. If you look at our win percentage with and without Jordan Henderson, so the argument about whether his best days are behind him, you know, I would say he's probably in his peak right now, but I would fully accept your point of view that maybe his best days are behind him. And as I said, for me, I'd have no issue if the club kept Hendo for the remaining 2 years of his contract, and then, you know, they had the conversation about whether he should move on or not. I think for a lot of us, the real frustration and annoyance comes in at the possibility of him being sold this summer. I mean, I think that's what most of us are shocked by. But I mean, it's a fair point that you've made. And look, we don't have access to the same data and statistics that maybe, you know, the coaches, the sports science, the medical department have. So there could be stuff that we don't know about. Well, of course, there is stuff that we don't know about. Is Naby Keita injured? Not that I'm aware of. He played today. Craig Shaqiri plus money to Atletico Madrid. Is that what you're saying there, Diogo? Or Diogo? So there are a couple of clubs interested in Shaqiri. There's been some interest from Turkey for a while. It's a couple of clubs, I think Lazio being one of them, in Italy. And look, a move to Spain wouldn't shock me either. I think, you know, Spain or Italy, those two leagues would probably suit Shaqiri, and let's wait and see what happens. He's 29, I think, Shaqiri. So, I think somebody that wants to play football, and I think Klopp probably can't guarantee him as much game time as maybe Shaqiri would want. Again, that's just my reading of the situation. Abdullah said it does make sense for Salah to want to leave. Players like Griezmann and Sancho are earning 400k a week. I get it, Abdullah. I'm with you on that one, mate. I mean, certainly if I was a footballer right now at 29 years of age doing what Mohamed Salah has done, and I'm looking around and I'm seeing my peers earning a lot more money than me, and he's won a Premier League with Liverpool, he's won a Club World Cup, a Champions League, a Super Cup, delivered ridiculous numbers. I absolutely appreciate where you're coming from, and he should be on a lot more than he makes at Liverpool Football Club. We have a wage structure, and he's right up there as the highest earner, I believe. But even at that, you're right to point out that what he gets paid against what even people at United, let's say, Sancho coming into United right now, will be on more money than Mohamed Salah is on. Whether it be 250, 300, 350 grand a week, I don't know. You look at Griezmann, a great example who you pointed out, is on at least double what Mohamed Salah takes home each week. So, there's only so much of this, but we love you, Mohamed Salah. The fans love you at the club. The manager, your staff loves you. At the end of the day, a footballer's career is short as well. So, finances definitely will be a part of any decision. So, I absolutely respect what you're saying, Abdullah, which is why I think it's time for our wage structure to be looked at here a little bit. And we always spoke about incentivizing contracts for players get X amount of the base wage and then trigger clauses and stuff like that. Well, most consistent as they come. When it comes to banging goals in, there aren't many better right now. So I agree, and that's one of the reasons why I'm very worried, Abdullah, is for exactly what you pointed out there. Now, his agent or his representative is not going to be a fool. He's going to know roughly what other people are making and what his market value is, and that's probably why I'm the most worried about Mohamed Salah, mate, for exactly what you've said. So yeah, no argument from me, fella. Look at United get Sancho and probably get Varane and probably get Trippier in the midfielder. It's a joke, said Alex. Again, mate, I don't, I can't put up much of an argument to that, can I? We know Varane looks very likely. Sancho, I know why that deal's being held up. Not my place to say, but it's going to get resolved. There's something holding it up. Maybe Mark has given out more information on that over on the United stand, but I am privy as to what the hold up is there. So that's going to get sorted. Varane, as you said, high probability. Trippier, certainly somebody that United have been linked with. And on the midfielder thing, it confuses me a little bit because I can only think that maybe they're looking to move on somebody from midfield to maybe bring in another. And as we spoke about at the start of the stream, Saul was one of those that was certainly linked with a move to United. So again, I want to make some defence here, but I'm like you. I'm a disappointed, frustrated fan now that's waiting to see some positive stuff come out. And we're not seeing much of it, mate, are we? I mean, Canade signing was brilliant, but we all know that was basically to cover where we were left short last year. Ben Davies got his first minutes today. So neither here nor there, but then again, very hard to judge in a 30-minute game. So yeah, it's until we get, the players tied down, until we get a couple of new bodies in the door, I think we're all going to feel a little bit of trepidation and anxiety, and that's because we've been here and we've done this with the owners. We've heard the, PR spin. We've heard the 2022 is going to be a big year. We've heard the next year stuff. We've heard it over and over again. We're sick to death of it. So yeah, I'm as frustrated as all of you. I can promise you that. Tom Boland, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, buddy. Great to see you renew your membership. And if anybody else wants to join, there is a link in the description. Like many other channels, it's $4.99 a month. You get use of all our emojis. You get into our Discord group. You get the Anfield Agenda logo beside your name, and your name appears in green to me and other members, making it easier to spot your comments. Right, updates on Henderson. There are no updates, Magnus. Situation still remains stalemate from what I'm aware of anyway. A few other little bits and pieces that I just want to read through as well that I have in my notes. Let me just get them 1 second. Sorry, I'll get to these 1 sec. Let me just read out a super chat here. Baseface and Space said, short of a Jude, Haaland and Mbappe signing, what could FSG do this summer to make us fan base happy for next season? I mean, I'll be really fair, I think, of what I'm going to say here, buddy. For me, if we keep Salah, we tie down Mane and keep Hendo, and we get the other players that were mentioned tied down, so the Van Dijks, the Alissons, the Fabinhos. To me, Konate, let's say one of Saul, Renato Sanchez, Neuhaus or Bissouma. Let's just say one of those four. And a wide attacking forward, somebody like Jeremy Doku, or, you know, maybe even shake it up a little bit, like an attacking midfielder with a Houssam Aouar or something. You know, I'm relatively happy going into the new season. Now, obviously, if we move on some more players, we might get one more body in, but I think most of us were expecting a summer of players getting their contracts renewed, a midfielder and a wide forward, as well as Konate that we knew was happening. And I think, realistically, we'd all be okay with that. At least, I hope we'd all be okay with that, because to me, that wouldn't be the worst business done in a summer window. Moving on a lot of, you know, wages off the books that for players that aren't really much benefit to the club going forward, and freeing up some much valuable squad places as well. So yeah, to me, you know, window's still open and all, but, you know, once bitten, twice shy. You know, I've been optimistic before, and I'm sure you guys have as well, and been bitten in the arse over it. What's the Salah contract worries about? The fact that there's no progression on them, Ross, and the fact that, you know, he's going into the final 2 years. There are some clubs hovering around that would happily take him, and as Abdullah pointed out earlier on, he could probably earn a lot more money elsewhere, if we're being really honest with ourselves. So, you know, my big worry is, if this rumoured unrest is there, then, you know, how the hell do we replace those goals if he does go? And if he doesn't sign a new deal, you know, we don't want to be in a position where he has a year to go on his contract, and he could be in a position at 31 where he walks out the door for free. So, you know, yeah, just worried. Have you signed the thing yet? Not yet. Not yet. No. Yeah, I don't want to say anything, so we just carry on. Thoughts on Aouar? Fine player. You know, we know Jean-Michel Aulas, the Lyon president's very difficult to deal with. We know it's been reported that Houssam Aouar is looking around now and seeing, you know, Memphis Depay's moved on from Lyon, and he feels like now is the time that he should get a move away. Arsenal, again, backlinked with him. And there had been some links to us from Julien Laurent, who's a very, very, very well-respected French journalist. So, again, you know, there's a double-edged sword to this, because in one breath I'll say I'm frustrated at not knowing what's going on, but in the next breath I'll be honest and say part of me likes that our transfer business is kept under wraps. But that's great when the signings are announced, but until the signings are announced, we're all a bit nervous, aren't we? What did I make of Konate's performance today? I was very impressed with his recovery pace in one of the defensive situations where the guy had a couple of yards on him. He ended up being offside anyway, but Konate did well. On the goal, it's very difficult to be overly critical because he was goal side of the guy, and your man played a back heel to an on-rushing player. So, you know, I thought all in all, you know, very difficult to gauge, but that recovery pace won me over very quickly, and a lot of good stuff from Konate. I missed Thiago today with the 30 minutes, said Vernon De Coker. Yeah, there was a couple of players who didn't get a run out today for obviously reasons. They're, you know, on holiday still after the Euros. Jota will be back soon. Obviously none of the Brazilian lads were there. Van Dijk and Gomez didn't get a run out. Nat Phillips didn't get a run out. Curtis Jones didn't get a run out. So, you know, we've seen those guys up, the ones that were there to training camp, up on the balconies watching the games anyway. Craig, do you rate Mason Mount? Of course. how could I sit here with a good conscience and say that he's not a good footballer? Man's after just being part of a Champions League winning team, an England team that got to the European Championship finals, and has had a fantastic season. So yeah, of course I rate him. He's a fine footballer. Not defending them, but FSG have never come out and said next year we'll spend big. Only journalists said this. I get you. Sorry, I have a really itchy nose today. I probably feel like I'm scratching my nose a lot. I get you, John, but what I will say to you is, mate, look at the journalists that are doing the briefing, and they are usually the ones that get good access to the club. So, call me a cynic, buddy, but I would suggest that they're getting the old wink and the nod to say, we're going big next summer. We're stabilising this summer, but of course the owners aren't going to come out and say that, mate, because they know how quickly it could be thrown back in his face. But surely we're all not naive enough to believe that they're not, interacting with some journalists and letting them know what they want them to know. I mean, surely we're all grown up enough to understand that happens. And look, one thing we can say that they've said is that we can compete. We can compete with the Manchester Uniteds of this world. Tom Werner said this himself. So, you can't brag about great new commercial partnerships, this fantastic kit manufacturer deal with Nike, all this great stuff, and then tell us we're broke at the same time. So, I get where you're coming from, mate, but, the journalists say it for a reason. Victor, how are you, buddy? Said, hi Craig, Liverpool need a midfielder and the dream signing will be Mbappe next year as a free agent. Project Mbappe Operation 2022. Yeah, my dream midfielder, mate, is also one that I had pinpointed for next summer, which is my first ever chew on the channel, which is Jude Bellingham. And I very, 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 very much get the impression that he's in the plans for next summer. I'm not saying we're nailed on to sign him, but I'm saying we're in the conversation. And we should be in the conversation because he's a fine footballer. So I get you on that one. Even Mbappe is a free agent. I just don't see how we can afford him, Victor, unfortunately, because of the wages that he would rightly command. Now, there is the situation where maybe we see Nike come in and help out a little bit there. Because let's say he went to Real Madrid, just as an example. He's a Nike athlete, but, there is instances, obviously, of Nike athletes wearing Adidas shirts, and that certainly would be the case. Now, he'd still be wearing Nike boots and all that stuff, but I'm sure it would be more palatable to them if he stayed within the Nike family. And one of the reasons that we signed up with Nike was because we were told we'd have, Nike's global presence, the likes of LeBron James and Drake, Serena Williams, and other high-profile people to help push the Liverpool brand out there. And LeBron owns, I think, 2% of Liverpool Football Club, so we've seen him wearing the Liverpool shirt and stuff like that. So, nothing's impossible, but it's a big ask, mate. And, it's also a big risk going into a new season if we don't strengthen, because our rivals are definitely strengthening. Where was Queevy and Kelleher? Good question. I don't know, Thomas, is the honest answer. Yeah, I genuinely don't know where Queevy was, mate. It's a good question. Yeah, mate, I'm sure somebody in the chat knows. Maybe, I don't think he was carrying a knock or anything. But yeah, it's a good question, mate. The answer is I don't know. Craig, thanks for the watch along, really enjoyed it. My pleasure, Keane, and we'll be doing all the Liverpool preseason games on Anfield Agenda, and of course all the games throughout the season as well. For those that aren't aware, because I was asked this a lot during the stream, people were asking how can they watch the preseason games. LFC TV or LFC TV Go. I believe that there is a sign-up offer to LFC TV Go where if you sign up using a special code, check the Liverpool website for that one, you get the first month free. I just renewed my LFC TV Sky subscription thing. It was like $7.99 for the month or something like that. That's how I watch the games anyway. Plenty of clubs sponsored by Nike. Why would they specifically help us at LFC? That would have been part of the conversation before the deal was signed, mate. So, as you know, the deal is 30 million plus 20% of Liverpool branded Nike merchandise. So your question as to why they would help us is because putting high profile athletes in our shirt, which is one of the highest selling shirts in the world, would make more money for Nike. So there's a very simple explanation for it, but there's also a fair point in what you've said. You know, we're not the only club there with Nike, but Barca have Messi, and you know, well, again, he's an Adidas athlete, isn't he? But I'm just talking about as shirt sellers. So a big name like that coming through the door would certainly work for everybody on that sense. Usually with a club, when you get a shirt manufacturer deal, it's usually, if you were to sell the jerseys in the club shop, say, the club don't really make much money on them. They get what's called a merchant's cut, which I believe is about something ranging from 6.5% to 8%, if my memory is correct. Could be even less than that. But Liverpool's deal means that we get a guaranteed 20%. So I guess it's just incentive to attract more shirt sales, mate. Where was Nat today? He was sitting up on the balcony watching the game on, and my guess is because maybe the Brighton interest is getting a bit more serious and the club didn't want to risk him playing today and maybe picking up a knock. So yeah, that's my guess, but it is just that, I guess. Did Elliott play well today? I think he played very well. First 5-10 minutes, I think he couldn't find his way into the game as much, but as it went on, you started seeing him find the little pockets of space more, some good link-up play with Mo down the right as well. And yeah, I thought he did very well today, Harvey Elliott. How about Tsimikas? Yeah, great to see. Well, I mean, what a spot by James Milner for the goal that Sadio Mane got. Very good spot. See Costa Tsimikas wide left. Tsimikas brought the ball down, controlled it across the box. Mane tapped it in. Perfect. Happy days. That's what we want to see. So, again, good to see Costa Tsimikas getting some minutes under his belt as well. I'm very good, Michaela. I hope you're well. Vinicius Jr. Again, John, looking at Real Madrid's situation, it would be the likes of the older, higher earning players that they're more likely to look to move on than the young players like Vinicius Jr. And players like that. So, you know, I would say they'll do everything they can to keep hold of the young talent. Same at Barcelona. You know, they're going to want to move on the Griezmann, the Coutinhos. There's even talk around what's his face? They're fucking holding midfielder. What's his name again? Fucking, oh, my head's all over the place today. You know who I'm talking about. There's even talk that he could move on. Gerard Piqué has apparently already agreed to a wage cut. Not Pjanic, not Busquets, Sergio Busquets, that's the guy. Yeah, Busquets, that's the guy I'm trying to think of. My brain's just gone blank. There's even talk that he could be available this summer. So yeah, De Jong, I think, is one that they want to keep hold of, Thomas, and rightly so. De Jong, Pedri, Ansu Fati, they're players that Barca won't want to let go. Craig, we all love you, never leave. Well, thank you, mate. I mean, that means a lot. It really does. I've no plans on leaving, dude. If anything, plans are being ramped up. You know, I agreed something today that will come out in due course. I pulled out of the shoot in London tomorrow for... I had reasons, but I pulled out of it. So I'm not going over to do that shoot tomorrow in London. So I'll be here to do a late night agenda. And I'll be recording the Anfield Agenda 1 Football Weekly News Show tomorrow as well. So that'll be coming out on Thursday. So yeah, loads of stuff. Keep it tuned here, folks, because we've got lots of stuff coming up. Craig Station, obviously, I've got some great interviews lined up on there. I want to give you the names of who they are, but I can't just yet because I want to get them in the bag first. I want to have them recorded before I announce them. But one is a big gamer. One is somebody who from the comedy kind of background. One is a big football YouTuber, and I'm waiting to try and get one or two more. So loads of stuff coming up on Craig Station. I've got a great new show idea for there as well that I'm working towards, which I don't want to give out the name of yet, but it's just going to be positivity and happy uplifting stuff. Thank you, Victor, for the very kind super chat, mate, from Canada. Lovely to see you in. Hi, Craig. The good thing for Klopp's relationship with Dortmund is special. Bellingham, in my opinion, will be a generational midfielder talent. The Champions League performances against Man City were something special. You probably seen me, Victor, nodding along as I was reading what you were saying there. And you're right, mate. We haven't seen Klopp go back to Borussia Dortmund and try to use those contacts at any point during his time at Liverpool. And I think that, like yourself, mate, this could be the one that sees Klopp, speak to Michael Zorc. And look, I'll be honest with you, I don't think Jude Bellingham as a player will need much convincing, because I hear he's rather fond of Liverpool as it is, and he's no fool. He turned down the opportunity to go to United before he went to Dortmund. I don't think because he wanted to disrespect United. I just think he, probably rightly so, knew he'd get more possibilities at Dortmund, more game time, and that so far has proved to be the right decision, because the guy's going from strength to strength. So like you, mate, yeah, I think so. Get an interview with Fabrizio Romano. See, my answer to this is always the same. Why would I pay money that, one, I haven't got, to a journalist who I can just find out all his information off Twitter? I'm not somebody that does the whole exclusive ITK, I'm in the loop stuff on here. It's not the way we do our news shows. We kind of talk about the stories, and I have stuff I try and find out behind the scenes with contacts in Spain and Germany, very few in England, and I absolutely have no working relationship with Fabrizio Romano. I've never even interacted with the guy, but I just think, for what I do, why pay money to somebody when I can just look at his Twitter account? So I don't care that much about being the breaker of news stories. Do you know what I mean? Is Doku looking more likely? It's gone extremely quiet around Jeremy Doku, mate. But quiet is not necessarily always a bad thing. Craig, who is Firmino? I'm an Arsenal fan, I don't know him. Yeah, he's a nobody, mate. Don't worry about him. You just move on and concentrate on Arsenal, mate, because there's a lot of rebuilding to do there. So, yeah, just enjoy supporting Arsenal, dude. Don't worry about. Thoughts on Sigurdsson? So, all I can say is what Everton Football Club have come out and said, which is that a player of theirs, I think, was taken into police custody over a matter. We all know what's been put out there on social media. We all know what's been going around for the past couple of weeks, but it is definitely not my place to speak from a position of not being informed. So, let the process develop is all I'd say. I mean, it's not really my place to talk about it, but it's not a great look, is it, to be honest? But as always in any of these type of scenarios, my thoughts are with the people who are affected by any particular issue. So my thoughts would be with any potential victim or any potential injured party, let's just say. That's first and foremost where my thoughts would go. The perpetrator of any of this would be the last person I'd give a shit about, to be honest with you. Craig, have you ever been to Duncannon? I have, indeed, yes. Where can I get a 1920 LFC shirt with a World Club Cup badge? Have a look at the likes of Sports Direct and stuff, mate. I'm not sure if they still sell them, but you can get the badges. I mean, you can buy them on eBay and stuff if you want to have a chance of putting it on yourself. I bought a spare one at the time, so I made sure, because I knew I wanted to keep it, so I made sure and bought myself a spare one. So, yeah, but, look around, they are available. Right, look, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to call that one a night. Do you think Kane will be staying at Spurs? From my Spurs supporting mates that I've spoken to, they believe he'll stay one more year and then maybe move on the following year. That's the latest I know on that. Ever been to Kilkenny or Killarney and Kerry? I've never been to Killarney. I've never been to Kerry. No. Never been to Kerry at all. Is Renato Sanchez more likely to join Barca than Liverpool? No. And that's not because I think Liverpool are more likely to sign him than anybody else. It's because Barcelona can't sign anybody right now. They can't even register Memphis Depay and Sergio Aguero, let alone Lionel Messi. Look into the financial situation of Barca. It's a bit of a mess. So right now they're not favourites to sign anybody, mate. So I can't say what Ronaldo's situation is with Liverpool, but definitely no to that one. Did Van Dijk play today? He did not. Nope. Nor did Joe Gomez. Nor did Kevin Kelleher. Nor did Curtis Jones. Nor did Nat Phillips. Where will we finish next year? I think we'll be in the top 4. I think the top 4 will be the same as it was this year, but I've no idea in what order. And I think anybody who's trying to predict that now, when we don't know what transfer business clubs have done, it's a very difficult thing to predict, isn't it? But we'll do a season preview, you know, at a later date, where we try and predict these things, try and predict the top 6 and the bottom 3. So yeah, look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go off and spend some time with the family, but I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 8:45. Hope to see you here. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts on any of the stuff we spoke about today, and have yourselves a wonderful evening. Thank you for dropping